passionate futurist Gitte Heij on the long and short-term impact of the COVID-19 crisis on tax policies, tax administrations, trade and other relations in the Asia-Pacific region. If you want to know more, stay tuned to this 5th episode of Tax Takes. My name is Premkumar Baldewsing. I'm from IBFD, and my guest today has various functions, including being a researcher at the Asian Law Center of the University of Melbourne and a chair of the Supervisory Board of Capabuild Foundation in Amsterdam. Gitte, let's start right away. Like many other countries, APEC countries, Asia-Pacific countries, are spending billions into their economy, thereby increasing national and budget deficits. What tax measures do you see that these countries will take to bring those deficits back in balance? And do you anticipate a shift in taxes or an increase in tax rates?
Thank you, Prem. It's a pleasure being on the program. I would say we need to make a distinction between short-term measures that currently a lot of tax administrations and governments are taking in the Asia-Pacific region just to help people right now. But in the longer term, what we will see is definitely a move to digital taxes, because that's where a lot of money is generated and a lot of income is generated. We will see more of an emphasis on particular sectors. So right now, what has become clear is that every country feels they need food security and maybe also security for their health sector. So incentives will be given to biotech companies so countries can build up their own capacity rather than relying on others. We also will see more of an emphasis on environmental taxes. Right now, oil prices are very low, so a carbon tax may be on the cards. What also has become clear is that we see more and more countries realizing that if you have too much of a gap between rich and poor, everyone suffers. So the discussion of a wealth tax is coming back. And then we see right now that a country like China may use import duties as a way to conduct its foreign policy, be it that they're upset with a country not being that grateful for COVID assistance, or because a country is critical of China in this process, that they may use import duties for such purposes. And last, in terms of tax policy, we will see, of course, governments will have to deal for many years to come with how do you deal with tax losses, carry backing, carry forward. These are measures that definitely are on the card.
Okay, thank you. I don't think that, I've been a tax advisor myself for years, that the tax advising firms will be happy with this message, because also their work will change. If you have a shift from, let's say, direct taxes to indirect taxes and environmental taxes, perhaps some specific taxes related to the digitalization of the economy, they also have to change their practice. So I think they have to listen carefully to you. Okay, Gitte, you just mentioned digital giants being active also in the Asia-Pacific region, especially in the Asia-Pacific region. Do you have some examples of countries in the APEC region which already have implemented taxes related to these digital activities in their country, or are in the process of thinking about it policy-wise? Do you have some examples?
Yes, there are many, and you're right. In the Asia-Pacific region, this is a hot topic. Many large tech, both from Chinese background or from American background, are active in a country like India. So India has introduced digital tax reforms. You see it in Japan, you see it in Korea. Indonesia has just introduced a major package, truly targeting large companies that do very well in Indonesia, like, for example, Netflix and Google and Microsoft and Tokopedia, the whole range of tech. Yes.
Yeah, of course, it's a large market in Indonesia. Another topic, what we see in the West, in Europe especially, is that countries are entering into mutual agreements with each other. For instance, the Netherlands and Germany on DTT consequences of this crisis. People cannot move, especially for instance, the cross-border workers. The place of effective management issues, residence issues. Do you see, or PE issues, do you see comparable examples in the Asia Pacific region?
Not so much in terms of double tax agreements, but definitely there are arrangements being made to ensure that services and goods can be used in cross-border transactions that are essential right now. So particularly for essential goods, you see that measures are taken by governments to ensure that everyone has the basic needs met in the different countries.
Okay. Another question is, what consequences of this crisis do you see on trade relations between APEC countries?
I think we see, of course, a large withdrawal of foreign capital as safe havens are back in vogue rather than maybe more risky investments. And then the region is very large, so some countries will do better than others. The trade between the different countries, of course, is down as everywhere in the world. We see tourism very badly hit, and tourism is very important for a country like Thailand, and no Chinese tourists are coming. Then you have countries that very focus on export. They really feel the changes right now, and they're vulnerable. And then you have countries with a larger domestic market, and they are in some ways more shielded from the situation. Countries like Indonesia with a very strong domestic market. And then you have countries with large foreign reserves like China, and they of course can carry these kind of setbacks much better than some other countries.
Okay. So you see that investors are pulling back their money from Asia Pacific region countries. And where does the money go?
I think they park it and hope for new opportunities in due course. You also see that, I mean, this is not so much related to the current crisis. It started earlier, but that certain countries want their manufacturing companies out of China simply to secure or diversify their supply lines. And we see that already happening as a result of China becoming too expensive, and trade war with the US and China didn't help. So a lot of companies were thinking about it, but now it's even more so encouraged. And the Japanese government openly promotes Japanese companies to relocate to other parts of Asia. So there is an upside. They will pick up some investment that otherwise would have gone to China, will now go maybe to the Asia Pacific region, and a country like Thailand may actually do quite well in such circumstances. But
Okay.
most will go back home, yeah.
Okay, right. Do you see that the stronger economies in the region, for instance, China, South Korea, Indonesia, have an influence on the COVID measures taken by the, let's call it the weaker economies in the region, the smaller economies?
Yes, absolutely. Countries in the G20, like Japan, like China, like Korea, like Indonesia, they do relatively well. And the G20 recently decided to postpone interest payments on any loans outstanding And they are, of course, very important measures for the weaker economies in the Asian region. And that really helps them because countries don't want to have to make the choice between feeding their people or paying interest on a loan. Unfortunately, China has a lot of preferential loans as part of its Belt and Road initiatives. So they are not part of this incentive of not paying interest. But other countries, most certainly, they are engaging in discussions with the OECD on the way forward in terms of international tax and where to tax and what to tax. And they help countries with a lesser voice.
Okay. You just mentioned the Belt and Road Initiative. There is this organization, it's called BRITACOM, which stands for Belt and Road Initiative Tax Administration Cooperation Mechanism, a mouthful. Is there something noteworthy to mention about this BRITACOM and the current crisis?
I think it's a bit early. BRITACOM at this stage is very much providing updates what different countries are doing in terms of immediate measures vis-a-vis COVID-19. I think maybe in the longer term they will produce more policy-oriented or longer-term views. Right now the focus is very much on the Belt and Roads Initiative itself and how China, in my view, has missed an opportunity by not including the preferential loans in these exemptions of paying interest to a number of countries. That has lost. It means losing goodwill, and it was such an easy way to create lots of goodwill. It's a shame.
Which brings me to, let's say, I think the last question. There is a lot of criticism on the USA not taking the global lead in fighting this crisis. And the question, of course, that pops up is China clearly taking over that role in the APEC region? And what role does, for instance, Indonesia or ASEAN and Korea play in this respect?
I think there is a vacuum due to changing foreign policy in the US, and yes, China has stepped into that vacuum. And but you also see a country like Japan that is truly trying to be like a mediator, a country in between. And I think China has yet to reach the maturity to be really a very strong player in the international arena, as it very much focuses its foreign policy on its domestic market. So it wants to please its citizens, and that is not always appreciated in the international community.
Okay. Very diplomatic answer, of course, I understand. Really the last question, Gitte, you are a futurist, a passionate futurist.
Yeah, I am.
When do you think we will have a vaccine against COVID-19?
Okay, futurists do not predict. We merely anticipate and we explore possible futures. I hope within the next year, but it's not based on my personal expertise. This is based on papers I read.
Yeah, I was just joking. Gitte,
Yeah,
thank you.
but it will not be the last
Yeah.
time we have a virus like this. So we all need to prepare for this. So the next round, we are better prepared. Manufacturing will come home, and security of your supply lines will continue to be very important.
Yeah, people first, eh?
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
the economy. Okay, Gitte, we have come to the end of this TechStakes video. I want to thank you for sharing your insights. And to our viewers, I would like to encourage them to keep watching IBFD's TechStakes. Thank you.
Thank you.